Rejection is never the wound people think it is. It is not the event itself that destabilizes you, but the reflex that follows it. The uncontrolled urge to explain, to justify, to be understood. In that single moment, power is either lost forever or quietly reclaimed. This is where most fail, not because they were rejected, but because they reacted. Stoicism does not begin with silence. It begins with the recognition that every external disturbance is an invitation to surrender internal sovereignty. When someone turns away from you, ignores you, or removes access, they expect movement. They expect emotional noise. They expect proof that they still occupy space inside your mind. What they do not anticipate is stillness. Silence, when chosen consciously, is not absence. It is positioning. The untrained mind views silence as weakness, as retreat, as loss. The disciplined strategist understands something far more unsettling. Silence is the removal of leverage. It is the moment you stop feeding the mechanism that depended on your reaction to function. From that instant onward, the dynamic no longer belongs to them. Every system of power, emotional, social, psychological, relies on predictability. When you break that pattern without explanation, you introduce instability. When you do it without resentment, you introduce fear. And when you do it without ever returning, you establish dominance without confrontation. Stoic mastery is not about suppressing emotion. It is about refusing to let emotion dictate behavior. The fortress within is not built with walls of denial, but with discipline, restraint, and absolute clarity about what deserves access to your energy. Once this inner citadel is formed, rejection no longer feels like an attack. It feels like a filter. Most people chase closure because they mistake noise for resolution. The Stoic understands that closure is not something granted by another. It is something claimed through detachment. When you do not seek answers, you deny the other person the final illusion of control. Their silence becomes loud. Yours becomes decisive. This path is not gentle. It is precise. What follows is not a philosophy of coping, but a framework of power. Each law you are about to encounter dismantles a layer of dependency, reaction, and unconscious submission. You will learn why absence weighs more than presence, why physical stillness regulates emotional chaos, why value increases when it is no longer negotiated, and why the ultimate form of revenge is not action, but irreversible indifference. This is not about winning them back. That goal belongs to those who still believe permission is required to feel whole. This is about winning yourself back. Once you understand these laws, rejection will no longer register as a loss. It will register as a signal, a clear, almost surgical indication of where power must be withdrawn so it can be consolidated within. And once that consolidation is complete, the silence you carry will no longer be a tactic. It will be your nature. From this point forward, nothing chases. Nothing explains. Nothing reacts. Only sovereignty remains. To master the world, one must first master the fortress within, which is the cornerstone of a Stoic response to rejection. In this territory, silence is not merely a lack of noise, but a sophisticated strategic withdrawal that signals absolute internal sovereignty. When you face dismissal, the common person rushes to fill the void with explanations, seeking a scrap of validation, yet the elite strategist knows the power of silence. Consider the ancient generals who, when faced with an unpredictable enemy, chose to remain perfectly still in their tents, foregoing the impulse to react. This is the essence of Stoic detachment, where your lack of movement becomes a psychological mirror reflecting the other person's chaos back onto them. By choosing no reaction stoicism, you effectively dismantle the script of the one who expects you to beg or plead for entry. Imagine you are a king who has been insulted by a passing merchant. To argue is to descend to his level, but to maintain a Stoic silence is to remain on the throne. This is the high-level psychology of silence, where you understand that your energy is a currency far too valuable to be spent on those who do not respect your worth. You are building an inner citadel, a place where Stoicism rejection cannot penetrate or cause a leak. The art of how to handle rejection lies in the subtle realization that every word you utter in your defense is a concession of your power. When you embrace dignity through silence, you are not just ignoring a person, you are signaling to the universe that your peace is non-negotiable and entirely self-contained. This is modern Stoicism in action, a calculated refusal to let the external world dictate your internal state. True mental strength is found in the pauses, the gaps, and the moments where you choose to stay silent instead of proving your point to the unworthy. In the game of regain power after rejection, the winner is always the one who can endure the stillness longer than the opponent can endure the mounting doubt. By applying a Stoic mindset, you transform the sting of exclusion into a laboratory for your own emotional mastery. Every second of your Stoic indifference acts like a slow-release toxin to the ego of the one who discarded you, forcing them to face their own insignificance. You are not being aggressive, you are simply being absent, which is the most potent form of silent revenge Stoicism available to the noble heart. As you cultivate this self-respect Stoicism, you begin to notice that the world starts to move according to your rhythm. Like a seasoned diplomat, you observe the fallout of your no-contact rule with a calm, analytical eye, knowing that your value is an objective fact. You are becoming an unbreakable Stoic, someone whose spirit is forged in the cold clarity of isolation rather than the warm, deceptive light of shallow approval. This Stoic philosophy is your map through the dark, leading you to a place where you no longer need their eyes to see. The strategy of letting go Stoicism involves a complete purging of the need to be understood by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. As you settle deeper into this Stoic response to rejection, you realize that the silence is not a wall, but a gateway to a much more dangerous and effective form of influence. The foundation is set, the walls are high, and the air inside your fortress is beginning to crystallize into something sharp. The second law of power revolves around the concept of emotional mastery, specifically how one handles the vacuum created by a sudden exit. When a person decides to walk away, they expect you to chase them, as your pursuit serves as the emotional oxygen they need to feel superior. By adopting a Stoic mindset, you effectively cut off that supply, leaving their ego to suffocate in the cold air of your Stoic indifference. Think of the most successful negotiators in history. They are often the ones who can sit across a table and say absolutely nothing until the other side cracks. This is the power of silence used as a tool of high-level calibration, proving that your internal world is not for sale or open for negotiation. In the realm of Stoicism rejection, your ability to remain unbothered is the most sophisticated form of no-reaction Stoicism ever devised. To regain power after rejection, you must treat the event not as a personal crisis, but as a necessary pruning of your social and emotional garden. Stoic detachment allows you to watch the leaves fall without fearing for the health of the tree, because your roots are buried deep in the soil of self-respect Stoicism. You are practicing the no-contact rule not to win them back, but to win yourself back from the fog of their influence. Consider the Stoic response to rejection as a form of intellectual hygiene, where you refuse to let the toxic projections of others clutter your mind. Like a grandmaster on a chessboard, you realize that a move made in anger or desperation is a move that leads to certain defeat. Instead, you cultivate a Stoic philosophy of absolute stillness, ensuring that every action you take is a reflection of your own mental strength. In this stage of modern Stoicism, you begin to see that overcoming heartbreak is less about forgetting the person and more about remembering your own divinity. By maintaining dignity through silence, you are setting a new standard for how you will be treated, a standard that few will have the character to meet. You are becoming an unbreakable Stoic, a figure of such stability that the storms of others simply break against you. The psychology of silence suggests that people are most haunted by what they cannot understand, and your silence is an enigma they cannot solve. By choosing letting go Stoicism, you are removing the target from your back, leaving their arrows of rejection to fall harmlessly into the abyss. This is the art of silent revenge Stoicism, where your thrive is the only message they are ever allowed to receive from your new life. Every day you spend in Stoic silence is a day where you reclaim the fragments of your soul that were once scattered by the desire for external validation. You are reinforcing your inner citadel, making it a place of such profound peace that the noise of the world feels like a distant and irrelevant hum. This is the core of how to handle rejection, turning a moment of potential weakness into a monument of enduring and sovereign power. As you master this strategic withdrawal, you notice that the dynamics of power begin to shift in your favor, without you having to lift a single finger. The silence is no longer a burden. It is a companion that whispers the secrets of your own untapped potential and hidden capability. You are standing on the threshold of a transformation so complete that even the memory of the rejection begins to dissolve into the light of your rising sun. The third law of power dictates that your presence only has value if your absence is felt as a heavy, undeniable vacuum. In the framework of a Stoic response to rejection, choosing to disappear is not an act of cowardice, but the most calculated move in the game of Stoic detachment. You are essentially withdrawing the emotional currency that the other person used to fund their sense of superiority and control. When you execute the no-contact rule, you are not just hiding. You are creating a space where the other person must finally confront the reality of their own actions. In modern Stoicism, we learn that people do not value what is always available, and by remaining silent, you become an enigma that they cannot solve. This is the power of silence at its most potent, acting as a psychological mirror for their ego. Imagine a seasoned diplomat who leaves the room the moment the terms become disrespectful. That silence carries more weight than an hour of heated shouting. By maintaining dignity through silence, you signal that your time and energy are exclusive privileges that can be revoked at any moment. This is the core of self-respect Stoicism, a refusal to participate in any dynamic that seeks to diminish your worth. To regain power after rejection, one must master the art of being the ghost in the machine, a presence that is felt everywhere but found nowhere. Your Stoic silence forces the person who rejected you to fill the quiet with their own insecurities, leading to a natural mental collapse rejection of their confidence. This is not through your words, but through the terrifying stability of your absolute and total lack of them. Consider the Stoic philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, who reminded us that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. By practicing no-reaction Stoicism, you prove that you are not a puppet moved by the strings of someone else's whims or shallow desires. You are an unbreakable Stoic, standing firm while the person who discarded you begins to drift in the ocean of their own rising uncertainty. The psychology of silence reveals that humans are naturally programmed to chase that which retreats from them with purpose and calm. When you apply letting go Stoicism, you are not just moving on. You are ascending to a level of emotional mastery where their opinion has zero gravity. This strategic withdrawal is the ultimate filter, removing the mediocre to make room for a life of much higher quality and peace. Every day you spend within your inner citadel is a day where you forge a stronger version of your own identity, independent of external praise. You are learning how to handle rejection by realizing that the no of the world is often the yes of your own soul's evolution. This is silent revenge Stoicism in its purest form, where your silence becomes the soundtrack to your most significant personal victory. As you master this distance, you realize that the air in your world is becoming clearer, and your mental strength is reaching unprecedented levels of focus. You are no longer waiting for a message or a sign, because you have become the sign of a person who is truly and eternally free. The trap of their expectation has snapped shut on nothing but the thin air you left behind as you moved toward a much deeper secret. The fourth law of power shifts the focus from the mind to the vessel that carries it, for a weak body cannot sustain a Stoic response to rejection. In the realm of modern Stoicism, the strategist knows that the first sign of a crumbling spirit is a restless, agitated body. To master emotional control, you must first command the very rhythm of your breath and the stillness of your hands. When the sting of betrayal strikes, the amateur becomes frantic. But the unbreakable Stoic adopts a posture of absolute mountain-like stability. This is not for show. It is a tactical manual override of your nervous system to maintain dignity through silence. By sitting in perfect quietude, you signal to your subconscious that the Stoicism rejection you experienced is not a fatal blow to your existence. Consider the discipline of the ancient warriors who practiced the power of silence even in the heat of battle to keep their vision clear and sharp. By cultivating self-respect Stoicism through physical stillness, you create a barrier that external drama cannot cross or even slightly agitate. You are no longer a victim of a mental collapse rejection, but a master of the calm that precedes a total transformation. To regain power after rejection, you must treat your physical presence as a temple of order in a world that thrives on chaotic and loud displays. The no-contact rule is most effective when it is accompanied by a visible increase in your vitality, health, and quiet, confident energy. This is how you demonstrate Stoic detachment, by proving that your body remains a sovereign territory beyond their reach. The psychology of silence teaches us that a man who can sit in a room alone without distraction is a man who cannot be easily manipulated. By mastering no-reaction Stoicism, you turn your environment into an extension of your inner citadel, where every object and every movement serves your purpose. This is a crucial step in how to handle rejection, shifting the focus from why they left to how I stand. Every moment of physical discipline you endure is a silent strike against the influence they once held over your noble and resilient spirit. You are practicing letting go Stoicism by literally sweating out the toxins of the past, replacing the weight of grief with the weight of cold, hard muscle. This is silent revenge Stoicism at its finest, becoming so physically formidable that your silence is felt as a threat. The Stoic philosophy of self-regulation is the key to maintaining your mental strength when the world around you is screaming for a visible reaction. You are learning that the Stoic response to rejection is a full-body commitment to excellence, leaving no room for the weakness of self-pity or public mourning. Your silence becomes a dense, heavy aura that commands respect from every person who enters your orbit. As you refine this internal and external order, you realize that the person who rejected you was merely a catalyst for your own physical rebirth. You are no longer chasing the ghost of a relationship. You are building a monument to your own emotional mastery and sovereign will. The stillness is now your most loyal ally, standing guard as you prepare to unveil the next and most devastating level of your strategy. The fifth law of power reveals the secret of value inversion, where the strategist transforms the vacuum of exclusion into the fuel of supreme mental strength. In the logic of a Stoic response to rejection, you must understand that being discarded is often a hidden promotion to a higher level of existence. By embracing Stoic detachment, you stop viewing their exit as a loss and start seeing it as a liberation of your energy. Most people crumble because they view themselves through the eyes of the one who left. But the unbreakable Stoic knows that eyes can be deceived by shallow things. To regain power after rejection, you must perform an internal audit of your worth, detaching it from the fluctuating whims of others and anchoring it in self-respect Stoicism. This is the art of letting go Stoicism, where you stop being a beggar for attention and become a king of your own focus. Consider the power of silence as a specialized filter that removes those who are not equipped to handle the weight of your evolving character and noble spirit. When you maintain dignity through silence, you are essentially saying that your value is an objective truth that does not require their acknowledgement to remain valid. This is the core of modern Stoicism, a refusal to let a no from a person define the yes of your future. In the realm of Stoicism rejection, the greatest victory is not their return, but the moment you realize you no longer desire it because you have surpassed them. By practicing no-reaction Stoicism, you allow their absence to sharpen your focus on your mission, your crafts, and your deeper connection to the inner citadel. You are turning the coldness of their silence into the heat of a forge that creates emotional mastery. The psychology of silence indicates that when you stop seeking closure, you actually find it within the boundaries of your own disciplined and quiet mind. You are mastering how to handle rejection by proving that you are a self-contained ecosystem of joy, purpose, and unshakable internal peace. This is silent revenge Stoicism at its most refined, where your excellence is a direct byproduct of the space they foolishly gave you. Think of a sculptor who removes the excess marble to reveal the masterpiece hidden within. Rejection is simply the universe removing the excess people from your life. Through a Stoic mindset, you see that every cut they made was actually a step toward your perfection and your eventual rise to total Stoic indifference. You are no longer reacting to the blow. You are admiring the new shape of your sovereign and resilient soul. Every day you invest in your own growth during the no-contact rule is a day you bank the interest of your own future glory and social dominance. You are reinforcing your Stoic philosophy by proving that you are not a consumer of validation, but a producer of your own internal light and unbending strength. This is the turning point where the Stoic response to rejection transitions from a defense into a powerful and quiet offensive. As you master this inversion, you notice that the person who once seemed so vital to your happiness now appears small and distant in your mental rearview mirror. You have become the architect of a world where they are no longer a resident, but a fading memory of a lesser version of yourself that you have outgrown. The void they left is now filled with a presence so dense that it prepares you for the final moves of the game. The sixth law of power demands that the strategist transmute emotional weight into physical superiority, for a serene spirit thrives best within a disciplined vessel. In the path of a Stoic response to rejection, your greatest asset is the energy that others might waste on despair, which you will channel into an unyielding commitment to self-mastery. This is where self-respect Stoicism becomes a tangible reality, measured in the steady iron of your routine and the rhythmic fire of your lungs. When the world expects you to fade into the background of a Stoic silence, you must instead cultivate a presence that is more vibrant and centered than ever before. Click the like button if you are committed to your evolution, because the most sophisticated way to regain power after rejection is to become a version of yourself that is unrecognizable to those who only knew your past. This is the no-reaction Stoicism that speaks through your composure and your unwavering calm gaze. To master emotional control, you must subject your body to the voluntary hardship that reinforces your inner citadel and your sense of internal worth. Subscribe now to join the ranks of those who understand that Stoic detachment is fueled by the chemical confidence of a body that acts as a finely tuned instrument of the will. In the world of modern Stoicism, your physical vitality serves as a natural shield against the disturbances of Stoicism rejection. Consider the power of silence demonstrated by a mountain. It does not need to move or shout to prove its permanence. Its sheer presence is a fact that requires no defense. By choosing a Stoic mindset, you treat your no-contact rule period as a sanctuary for the soul and the flesh to align in perfect harmony. Leave a comment with, "I am unbreakable," to seal your oath to turn the sting of dismissal into the quiet strength of an unbreakable Stoic. The psychology of silence tells us that people are naturally moved by a person who thrives in solitude, growing more refined while others would become scattered and reactive. Through dignity, through silence, you show that your life is a work of art that does not require external validation to reach its most magnificent and balanced form. This is the essence of how to handle rejection, transforming a moment of exclusion into a permanent state of psychological advantage. Every conscious effort you make is a silent investment in a future where you are the master of your own environment, regardless of the shifting winds of social opinion. You are practicing letting go Stoicism by shedding the old skin of a person who was once vulnerable to the shallow approval of those who did not share your vision. This is silent revenge Stoicism in its most elevated form, as your very vitality becomes a living testament to your mental strength. Your Stoic philosophy is not just a collection of words. It is the rhythm of your heart and the steadiness of your hands as you build a life of profound and noble purpose. You realize that the Stoic response to rejection is a quiet transcendence of mediocrity, ensuring that your Stoic indifference is backed by a capability that few can hope to achieve. You are no longer mourning a loss. You are celebrating the emergence of a version of you that is truly sovereign. As you master this physical and mental alignment, the person who rejected you becomes a minor footnote in the epic story of your own heroic and steady rise. You have reached a level of emotional mastery where the silence is no longer a tool of defense, but a throne of clarity from which you observe the world with precision. The final revelation is now within your reach, as the balance of power shifts permanently into your calm and capable hands. The seventh and final law of power is the attainment of absolute sovereignty, where the Stoic response to rejection transitions into a permanent state of graceful being. You have reached the summit of the inner citadel, a place where the air is thin, and only the self-mastered can breathe with ease. At this height, the Stoic silence you once used as a shield has become your natural atmosphere, a calm and steady climate of total psychological freedom. In this final stage of modern Stoicism, you realize that the person who once turned away no longer exists as a source of disturbance, but as a fading shadow of a past you have outgrown. By mastering Stoic detachment, you have created a mental distance so vast that no external plea can ever bridge the gap between your world and theirs. This is the power of silence in its ultimate form, the total and final reclamation of your presence for your own higher purposes. To regain power after rejection in its entirety, you must become a person who is entirely unrecognizable to the version of you that once felt diminished by another's choice. Your no-reaction Stoicism has forged an unbreakable Stoic who no longer seeks to balance a score, because you realize that your internal peace is the only prize worth winning. Instead, you offer the world the most sophisticated response of all, your absolute and total Stoic indifference. The psychology of silence confirms that the most profound influence is held by the one who has moved beyond the need to be understood or validated. By maintaining dignity through silence, you have gracefully exited a narrative that was beneath your potential, leaving others to reflect on a presence they could not sustain. This is the peak of emotional mastery, where your sense of well-being is entirely self-derived and beautifully independent. Consider the Stoic philosophy of the vacuum. By refusing to fill the quiet with noise or defense, you allow the truth of your character to speak for itself. You have learned how to handle rejection by becoming a force of nature that moves according to its own internal and noble laws, far above the petty games of the crowd. Your Stoic mindset has turned a moment of potential exclusion into a lifetime of sovereign and quiet authority. Every day you live in this state of self-respect. Stoicism is a victory that requires no validation, a triumph of the spirit that is felt in the stillness of your soul. You are practicing letting go Stoicism at its highest frequency, realizing that the most effective way to transcend the past is to live a life of such excellence that the past becomes irrelevant. This is the silent revenge Stoicism of the elite, where your growth is the final word. Your journey through Stoicism rejection has ended not with a conflict, but with a quiet, powerful step into a future that is entirely of your own design. You are the architect of your destiny, the master of your emotions, and the king of the silence that now serves as your most loyal and wise companion. The Stoic response to rejection is now complete, as you move forward with a heart that is warm to virtue and calm to the unworthy. As you close this chapter, you realize that the silence is not an end, but a beginning of a much larger and more profound era of your own personal evolution. You have become the master of the game, a strategist who knows that the ultimate move is to simply transcend the board and walk toward the light of your own sovereign sun. The world is yours, for you have mastered the one thing that truly matters, your own eternal, peaceful silence. In the end, the deepest lesson of Stoicism is never about controlling others, proving a point, or reclaiming something that was taken away. It is about learning how to stand firmly within yourself, regardless of what the outside world chooses to do. Rejection, when understood through this lens, is no longer a verdict on your worth. It becomes a moment of clarity, a quiet signal showing you where growth, maturity, and inner alignment are needed. Silence, in its healthiest form, is not avoidance, and it is not punishment. It is a conscious pause, a space where emotions are allowed to settle, where perspective replaces impulse, and where wisdom begins to emerge. By choosing not to react immediately, you give yourself the opportunity to respond later with balance, dignity, and understanding. This choice alone reshapes how you experience challenges and relationships. Stoicism teaches that peace does not come from being understood by everyone, but from understanding yourself. When you stop measuring your value by external reactions, you discover a steadiness that cannot be shaken by rejection, disagreement, or distance. Your sense of worth becomes internal, consistent, and calm. And from that place, your actions naturally become more thoughtful and constructive. Absence, when guided by self-respect and emotional clarity, is not an act of hostility. It is often an act of care. Care for your mental health, your boundaries, and your long-term well-being. Stepping back allows emotions to cool, perspectives to shift, and lessons to surface without conflict. It creates room for reflection instead of escalation, and understanding instead of resentment. The Stoic path does not encourage emotional coldness. It encourages emotional responsibility. It reminds us that we are accountable for how we respond, even when circumstances feel unfair or unexpected. By choosing calm over reaction, patience over impulse, and clarity over noise, you build resilience that supports every area of your life, relationships, decisions, and personal growth. This way of living is not about isolation, but about balance. It allows you to engage with the world without losing yourself in it. You learn when to speak, when to listen, and when silence itself is the most respectful and intelligent response. Over time, this practice builds trust in yourself and creates healthier connections with others. If this perspective resonates with you, take a moment to like this video, as it helps share these ideas with others who may need calm and clarity in their own lives. Subscribe to the channel if you want to continue learning practical, thoughtful approaches inspired by Stoicism and emotional wisdom. And share this video with someone who might benefit from a more peaceful, grounded way of handling life's challenges. May you carry forward the understanding that strength does not always announce itself loudly. Often, it is quiet, steady, and deeply rooted. When you choose self-respect, patience, and inner calm, life begins to respond with greater clarity and balance. And from that place you move forward, not hardened, not withdrawn, but centered, aware, and genuinely free.